Christiane, and I am becoming a biblical trophy wife. Okay, there are a few different ways that I'm going about this, and one of those ways, and I will explain what a biblical trophy wife is. Just go back to my first video. It explains the whole thing. One of those things is by managing a healthy diet that also encourages weight loss. And for me, that is a carnivore diet, or mostly meat-based. I do incorporate some vegetables every once in a while, but for the most part, I am meat-based, and this is my life, okay? So I have prepped my space. I have a pan I'm gonna lay all my steaks out on, and then I have, obviously, just your standard basic cutting board, which, yeah, I think this is just from Costco or something. Little knife set from Costco, very sharp, so I have to be careful because I'm a mess. I will cut myself. And then this is actually from Sam's Club. So little hack, you will not find these on their shelves. However, they keep them in the back. So if you are looking for ribeye, New York strip, and you want the whole thing, you want the whole roast, right? Then you just have to go to the meat counter, ring their little bell, and ask them for it. Now, if you go to Costco, you're gonna see these just sitting out, ready. And I've purchased from both. So we're gonna see how this one goes. We're gonna go ahead and get started cutting this, and I'm gonna speed this up just so that you don't have to deal with all the nasty little details of, you know, watching me cut every little piece of meat. So I know I said we weren't gonna deal with all the nasty little details of things, but we do have some details we have to cover. So, here we go. I like to start off by taking a paper towel and just gently, and I know you can't see and I can't touch because I've got meat hands, okay? The meat hands are real with this guy. So I'll just hold it up a little bit so you can see. But I tap it with the paper towel a little bit to off. I know that sounds gross. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to gross anybody out. And these do get quite heavy, by the way. So I just want to show you doing the diet that, you know, you find to be the healthiest that works for you. Couple it with exercise, because I'm going to tell you right now, exercise is going to be during your success. So if you plan to trim your own ribeyes like I do, you're going to see a few different things on your meat. You're going to see what's called silver skin, and that is this right here. See how it's kind of silvery looking? It's a little bit harder, so you want to make sure that when you're cutting the meat, you get that part off as well. All right, now we're going to get started breaking this down. All right, so I usually start by taking some of the fat off the back, the fat cap, and what we like to do with this is we will use this to make tallow that we can use for cooking, or as of late, we've been breaking it down and using it as a broth, because I also just do a primarily OMAD diet, but with that, we've discovered that I do need something midday-ish to kind of help me out a little bit. So we've discovered broth actually helps with that, and we use the broth that we make from the fat cap. There's a little bit of meat still left on there most of the time, and we're able to just kind of grind that up into a beautiful beef broth that tastes amazing. And we do use spice. So I do, if you can tolerate spice, then by all means, utilize that, because it will help you if you're trying to do a diet like carnivore. So as you can see, I'm just kind of able to pull this apart. Like, let me lift it so you can see. So I'm able to pull the ribeye. This is the actual ribeye piece right here. And this, I just call this the extra meat, right? So I'm able to kind of pull that apart, break it down. And what I use this part for, we call it, in my family, in my house, we call it meat chunks. It's, we can do so much more with it than just that, but we're able to make different things out of what comes off of this fat cap. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and slice through there, as this is just part of my breakdown process. There we go. And there we go. Haha, check that out. Look at how much meat is on this too. We can get so much good flavor and good things out of all of that meat. I mean, that's a pretty thick piece. So we're able to get a lot of goodness out of that, and we can break it down right in the crock pot, super easy. All right, next step, I'm gonna kind of take out some of this silver skin. So these are the pieces I'm not gonna keep. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Okay, here we go. This is the silver skin. So you can see how it's just kind of, it's a fat layer, but it's a lot harder and not easy to eat at all. If you have silver skin, you know, and you've probably bit into it because it's a little crunchy. It might hurt your teeth a little bit. There are some people out there that would say just eat it all and soldier through. I am not one of those people because I do not like it. I'm big on texture. I like things that taste good and look good and feel good in my mouth. Silver skin is not one of those things. So I'm just gonna keep pressing forward and cutting off this silver skin because there is a little bit on this. I do like to leave a little bit of fat on here because it is so good for you to eat. This just happens to be the method that works best for me. You figure out what works for you. Okay. I like to weigh my steaks so that I get just the right number of ounces. So I put a plate on a weight, and then I plug it in and let it zero out. There it goes. And that way I can weigh my steaks to be the ounces that I want them to be. So for my husband, he gets 8 to 10 ounce steaks. And for me, I eat anywhere between 4 Here's my first piece. That is one steak right there, one ribeye. Nom nom nom. I try to keep track of how many steaks I'm getting so that we have an even amount of steaks. All right, that's perfect. I can cut this one in half and that will be 2 steaks for me. So I'm gonna go this, that looks about right. All right, let's see, this one is gonna be 4.6, that's good enough. Close enough to 5. This one is a little bit heavy because there's a little bit more fat on it. So I'm just going to do a little trim of some of the fat to get it down to the right weight for me. I do find that I'm actually full. I know you guys are probably thinking, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 ounces, that's a small steak. Well, this is 4.7 ounces right here, okay? It isn't that small, actually. The fatty, and this has a lot of good fat. I really like my meat very fatty. I like those big pieces. All right, so I'm just gonna slice these off, and they're going to turn into meat chunks that we will be using for other meals. Yeah, that's a good one. Look at this guy. That's a good steak right there. And yes, I will take pictures of this whole tray once it is all done so that you can see and get a clear picture of what's going on. perfect 5 ounces right there. Now, to break this down even more, to make meat chunks.
So Kitten, what do we use meat chunks for?
The meat chunks are used to make broth, and they are used to make other meals for the kids, like tacos or just some other flavored meats that the kids enjoy. Because our kids are actually meat-based as well. They eat mostly carnivore. My son can eat whatever he wants, and my daughter is also gluten and dairy free. So a meat-based lifestyle is the right lifestyle for her. When selecting this lifestyle, we didn't really know that at first, but we have learned along the way.
And by breaking it down yourself, what are some things that you ensure?
Well, one, you ensure that the steaks are cut to your specific needs as far as weight, size, shape. However, you're going to be cooking it. For example, we cook on the grill a lot, so I like to make sure that especially the sizes of John's steaks are big enough to support the thermometer that I put in it and keep on the grill. So with that in mind, I like to make sure that his steaks in particular are nice and thick. Now sometimes they may start coming apart because of the fat, but that's just part of having a fatty piece of meat. And what you can do is just use that thermometer to hold it all together so that when it's on the grill, it doesn't fall apart. And that's just how we like to do it. And yeah, slap your meat if you want to.
And how much of this would you say gets used and how much of it gets thrown away?
For the most part, we use, I would say, around 80% of everything that comes on here, with the exception of silver skin and some fat. Like some of this, it doesn't break down very well, even in the crock pot. So I typically go through and I look for the extra white pieces like this, or like this, where it's super white and it's soft. And those pieces break down really, really well. Like on here, this, I will keep all of this because it's super white and super soft. You can actually pull it right off the piece of meat with very little effort. And I like to keep those pieces because they get used in the broth or in making beef tallow. These pieces are a little bit tougher. A lot of people would say to go ahead and eat that tough part, but we have discovered in our house that that's just not going to work for us. We prefer our meats a little bit softer, easy to chew, and not a lot of silver skin. So what I'll do, like this piece right here is silver skin, I'll go back through these pieces and just make sure I get all the meat off, because what ends up happening is I can put it in a bag that's going to be used for broth and it's going to be broken down even further anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But we like to use as much of this as we possibly can to make sure that nothing really gets wasted. People out there that enjoy things like tongue and heart and stuff like that, that's also not something we enjoy in my house. So I like to purchase vitamins that include those kinds of things because that's not something that we're getting. But it's also not something that's an absolute need either. This meat provides everything vitamin-wise and whatnot that we need for a daily diet. So I'm just gonna keep breaking this down, and then at the end of the video, I'll put a picture of what our tray looks like and how I package it up. I use a vacuum sealer and I make the bags and I put them in packs of 2. So for example, this is one of John's steaks, and then I will take one of my steaks and package them together so that every time I pull one out, I'm just ready to make a meal with our steaks. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, just post them in the comments below.